Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into this, man, it's a timeless, incredibly cinematic story. We're talking agonizing betrayal, unbelievable patience, and a trap that is just flawlessly executed. Think of it as your classic tale of an absolute underdog pulling off the impossible against the most powerful guy in town. So settle in, because we're going to see exactly how a trap for a tyrant is set and how it's sprung. We've got this old proverb: the woodcutter's axe eventually breaks the judge's safe. Sounds kind of impossible, right? I mean, an axe is a tool of brutal, exhausting labor, while a safe, that represents fortified, completely untouchable wealth. But as you're going to see, the powerless can absolutely outsmart the powerful. It's not about breaking the thick metal of the safe. It's about breaking the psychology of the guy holding the key. So our story starts with Nate. He's a deeply impoverished lumberjack. To give you an idea, his entire net worth was basically a rusty axe and a frayed flannel shirt. But Nate, he never complained. He was up before dawn every single day chopping wood, and he was fiercely supported by his wife, Sarah. She would literally go hungry just to make sure Nate had the energy to swing his axe the next morning. Honestly, they were the very definition of American grit. But everything changes on this one random day out in the deep woods. Nate's axe hits something hard, tangled in the roots of this massive ancient oak tree. He digs through the dirt and pulls out an old copper pot, and inside, hundreds of gleaming gold coins. Now, for a guy who counted every single penny just to afford stale bread, this was earth-shattering. It's life-changing money. But that initial thrill, it's instantly replaced by a suffocating panic. Because if anyone found out, he'd definitely be robbed, or worse. Terrified, Nate makes a crucial decision. He decides to entrust his massive secret to the most powerful legal figure in town, Judge Benson. Now, Benson projected absolute integrity, fancy robes, speaking with total authority. But hiding behind that shiny, superficial mask was a ravenous, insatiable greed. So Nate, in his pure-hearted, naive simplicity, basically walks right into the lion's den and hands over this heavy bag of gold for safekeeping. And man, trust turns to tragedy so incredibly fast. For 2 whole years, Nate leaves the money untouched, completely secure. But then disaster strikes. He falls desperately ill. Sarah ends up selling their absolute last pots and pans just to afford basic medicine. So a sick, bedridden Nate grabs a cane, drags himself to the judge's opulent mansion, and asks to withdraw his life savings. And the judge's response? He viciously denies ever taking a single dime. The betrayal is just absolute. Judge Benson completely drops his righteous, holy mask, stares down at this frail lumberjack, and barks, "What gold? You are a beggar. Get out before I throw you in jail." Completely abusing his unquestionable authority, the judge leaves Nate completely broken, weeping, and totally destitute out in the dirty streets right outside his pristine mansion. Now, at his absolute lowest point, Nate is coughing in the dark corner of this run-down local tavern, and a stranger approaches him. Meet Sam, a wise, world-weary traveler who's seen it all. Hearing the lumberjack's heartbreaking sobs, Sam pulls up a chair. Nate just pours his heart out about this ultimate betrayal, but here's the thing. Instead of offering empty pity, Sam offers strategy. His sharp eyes recognize a classic pattern of tyranny he's seen in powerful, corrupt men everywhere. To pull Nate out of this deep despair, Sam shares this little micro-fable about an arrogant, all-powerful railroad tycoon from the Gilded Age. This robber baron thought he was completely untouchable. But one day, a single, tiny, relentless fly landed on his nose. Swatting blindly in a furious rage trying to kill it, the tycoon knocked over his own oil lantern and literally burned his entire mega mansion to the ground. Sam uses this to show Nate a crucial lesson. Sheer size and power mean absolutely nothing if you know exactly how to agitate your opponent. Because here's the secret. Every single tyrant has a fatal weakness. Sam explains to Nate that Judge Benson's massive wealth, his armed guards, his legal authority, it's all just a mirage. It's hiding a glaring vulnerability, which is his blind, insatiable greed. Think about it. He didn't steal Nate's gold because he actually needed it to pay bills. He stole it because his appetite is a literal black hole. And that blind appetite, that is exactly what they are going to exploit. So this brings us to the real crux of our explainer. How exactly does a powerless, penniless, sick lumberjack pull off a psychological heist against the most protected man in the city? I mean, he can't use physical force. He can't use the law because, well, the judge literally is the law. So he has to use something far more potent. He has to weaponize human nature. Sam lays out this brilliant 4-step trap. Step 1. Nate scrapes together his very last pennies to buy an ornate, heavy, antique-looking chest. Step 2. He fills it all the way to the brim with heavy river rocks. Step 3. He plants a very specific hidden note right at the top. And step 4, this is the absolute most critical part. Nate goes down to the busiest market in town and starts bragging super loudly to anyone who will listen about his newly inherited family jewels. Nate puts on the absolute performance of a lifetime. He's panting, struggling under the immense weight of this chest, right in the middle of the crowded bazaar, and he loudly proclaims, "Priceless rubies, emeralds, and family jewels. I need a safe place before my long journey." He makes absolutely sure that the judge's own informants and street spies hear every single word about this massive chest of supposedly priceless gems. And boom, the trap springs shut. The rumors reach the judge, and his greedy mind just starts racing. He instantly realizes that if Nate brings this massive chest to him for safekeeping, he could steal the whole thing. But there's a major catch. Nate isn't going to trust him with the massive chest if that original, much smaller bag of gold is still missing. And this is where it gets brilliant. The judge's greed completely overrides his logic. He does the math and realizes he must temporarily act honest to steal the much, much larger prize. Right on cue, Nate arrives, sweating profusely under this heavy chest. The moment the judge sees the massive box, his eyes just light up. Before Nate can even open his mouth to ask, the judge enthusiastically hands back the original bag of real gold coins. He says, "I was merely testing your faith, Nate. Here is every single gold coin you left with me." The judge plays the benevolent protector, utterly convinced he's a strategic mastermind, completely unaware that he is the one on the hook. Nate takes his gold, thanks the judge profusely, and leaves the incredibly heavy chest behind. The literal second the door shuts, the judge locks it, rubs his greedy hands together, and excitedly pries open the heavy lid, expecting to see piles of rubies and emeralds. Instead, he finds heavy river stones, Nate's old, rusty axe, and a single, carefully folded letter resting right on top. His stomach absolutely drops. With trembling hands, the judge unfolds the note. Crafted by Sam, the devastating message reads, "The cold wind of cruelty doesn't just destroy the poor, it blows out the tyrant's lamp." The crushing truth just washes over him. An uneducated, impoverished lumberjack just used the judge's own boundless greed to play him for an absolute fool. But you see, the trap was about way more than just getting the money back. It was about exposing the deep corruption. Within a single week, the lumberjack's brilliant deception leaks out to the public, making the judge a total laughingstock. Within a month, the state governor investigates, uncovers a massive, long history of corruption, and strips the judge of his title and all his wealth. Fast forward a year, Benson is seen begging in the very streets he used to rule, while Nate uses his rightful gold to buy his medicine, open an honest shop, and generously help out the needy. There are some incredibly powerful takeaways from this story. First, greed is a built-in self-destruct mechanism. The judge wasn't defeated by an army. He was defeated by his own inability to say enough. Second, patience is a weapon. Nate didn't attack in a blind rage. He stepped back and strategized. And third, intellect can topple giants. True justice isn't always found inside a courtroom. Sometimes it's achieved purely by deeply understanding human nature. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a thought. We've seen how a rusty axe broke a powerful safe, and how a tiny fly brought down a titan. So look around at the untouchable institutions and the arrogant leaders of our modern world. What vulnerabilities are hiding right behind their shiny armor? What is the seemingly insignificant fly that could bring them down today? Keep looking for those hidden truths. And until next time, keep questioning the narrative.